So I'm just going to give LinkedIn a few seconds to catch up because it takes that long. So my name is Gavin Redman, and on today's Ask a Leader, I am talking to Alan Hale, probably one of my favorite people, although he doesn't quite know that, because he has been doing the professional version of what I had to do when I was working for a large institution, when we received clients that weren't exactly perfect further down the line, and then having to fix all of that. So with that, we'll get into it. Alan, I suppose the best thing to say is just the first question is who you are, a bit of your background, and I'll stop talking and let you speak.
All right. Well, thank you. I have spent about 40 plus years in business to business. I have seen a lot of crazy things, although I've not seen a perfect client. I started a consulting firm called Consight Consulting Group. And the Consight comes from the word consulting, and the site comes from insight. And I probably have about 300 projects under my belt, different industries, different types of clients, startups to Fortune 500. I've coached. The bottom connection here is you try very hard to get the client pointed the right way by using customer insight as a North Star. And that truly is my mission, my passion to teach B2B marketing. Some people call me the preacher, other people call me the angry marketer. But I see so many stupid things going on. And a lot of it is just centered on we don't need to do research, or we believe we know what our customers want. And I can go down the list here, but and we can pick this up later if you want. But in my mind, B2B marketing is going down a rabbit hole. It's circling the drain. It's all seems to be technology led or sales led and totally ignoring customers. It's like they are slapping customers and getting them to buy rather than finding out what they want and service their needs. Now, I call this phrase customer obsession, and I call the opposite of it marketing malpractice.
Yes, but twice.
Oh, yeah. Like I got that term. My wife loves Grey's Anatomy, so sometimes I'll sit and watch with her. And they had a show on where they did something wrong. They talked about medical malpractice. And so I was looking at this. It's like, what I like phrases that have alliterations in them, right? And it's like marketing malpractice. I've got it. Don't let me forget this. I'm going to go write this down so I can go. So I really believe we are doing the wrong things, and it's caused by a lot of factors, but I'll just kind of end it right there unless you want me to expand on it.
I think we'll get to that in a second or so. Now, just so everybody's clear, Alan said he wasn't a leader as such, but I sort of define leadership by people who I think, from what I've seen over the 30 years I've been in tech and in consultancy companies, those that actually talk common sense and make a difference. So, Alan, though you may not see it that way, I think you are.
Well, I appreciate it's just some of these words have such a, are you a leader? Are you an influencer? It's hard for me to say, oh, yeah, because you have a lot of people saying that on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm great. I got 40,000 followers and all that. I really consider myself an educator, a teacher, a professor, and a communicator.
Yeah.
Now, to go to your point, I am preaching counter to current practice.
I'm just going to have to stop you there. Somebody's banging at the door. Talking of technology and people, 1 second. Apologies, Alan. Family.
No, stuff goes. I remember I had one conference video with a professor. And to this day, I cannot get his software to work on my computer. We went back and forth. I said, you know what? Just pull it up on Zoom. We'll just go from there. But no problem at all, Gavin.
Okay. So I'm just going to quickly get into a quick shout out for the sponsor of the actual podcast live. Take about 2 minutes. So it's Specular Consulting. Their success is based on providing expert advice in a way any company, big or small, can afford to use it. They charge by the hour, and they make difference because they can assist the organizations when they actually need the help and keep a tight rein on the costs. And they offer that in IT security, IT PMO, and transformation. And they provide that as a service, consulting, and resource augmentation. Now, what makes them different? They get involved, they integrate into the customer and the client. And when they're finished, they actually hand it back in something that resembles a plan. So with that, that's the end of the shout out. It's specularconsulting.com. That's their web address. That's specularconsulting.com. That's SPECULO consulting.com, one word. And with that, I suppose we can now get into the rest of it. So we actually started speaking to each other because we'd been talking to George and Adam from the B2B Playbook. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea where I came from, I spent about 10 years in delivery. So on this other side of this fence, dealing with the customers that we got given by sales and marketing, and then having to walk them through what they'd actually purchased, and then fix that relationship because it was broken. And we got no handover, no insights, hardly anything. If we were lucky, we got a 15-minute call with the salesperson, maybe something from marketing if they knew anything at all. Now, I always usually ask here is, how do you see leadership? But here I'm going to ask, how would you fix that process? Because that is, I think, something that needs fixing. So what would be your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I have a couple thoughts. So first of all, it has to be from the customer's point of view. Mm-hmm. What product do they need? Product is more than features. What are the benefits of doing it? What is the, what solution do you solve? Are you a credible solution and all that? So what I'm probably going to look at this a little bit different than you asked, but I've been in a lot of projects where the client has launched a new product and it has bombed, really bombed. Yeah. And then they kind of call you. So the first question you have is, my God, why didn't you call us earlier? At least start with customer obsession. And I'll give you an example that's not really high tech, but there was a company making ceiling grid systems for commercial buildings. Where you have, I don't know where you are, but drop down tile and you got the guides. Yeah. And they came up with the most beautiful ceilings in the world. It was gorgeous. We went to their plant. It's like, we can't believe it, but it wasn't selling. So we kind of stepped back and said, okay, let's figure out what's going on. So we talked to architects and engineers. Yeah, we like the product, we specify it, but in the end, the general contractor didn't buy it. And then we kind of talked to general contractors, and we talked to ceiling installers. And it was very interesting. Everyone loved the product, but no one figured out it was going to take about 15% more to install this system over the previous system. So the choice was two. Either you make your price higher and you lose profit, or you bid an alternative system. So again, I go back as start with the customer. And then to your issue, kind of a little bit more current, is I still don't understand why there's so many silos between marketing and sales. I mean, marketing needs to be in front of customers, understand what the salespeople are. They need to ask the salespeople, what do you need? And vice versa. The fact that you couldn't even get a lot of times 15 minutes with the salesperson, that's insane. So, I mean, there's a book that Fred Reichheld wrote called Winning on Purpose. And he talks about, and there's a big debate on this, Net Promoter Score, blah, blah, blah. But he talks about how he worked with a company to align the whole company around a vision of servicing the customer.
Yeah.
So there weren't separate silos. It was like teams, and everyone was responsible, and they had metrics. And so, I mean, some of this sounds common sense, like communication, but I think it's more of a cultural thing. If you've had the same culture for decades, or you've got a strong leader that might be viewed as toxic, my way or the highway, we're just going to keep repeating the same mistakes. And so unless the company can become a learning organization, do things different, get input and keep improving, they're going to be in the same place. So I don't know if I answered your question or kind of talked a little bit different than what you wanted to talk.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, we did end up fixing that problem. So it took 5 years in total. So I'm a third generation business owner. So I grew up with this. My father and grandfather taught me the customer comes first. You have to listen to them. You have to address their struggles, their concerns, the real reasons why they buy, and they're not going to necessarily know what those are. And the only way to find out is to ask questions. So I used to ask a lot of, in quotes, dumb questions until we finally found out, okay, this is what they wanted. This is but that didn't necessarily match the dream that had been sold and then what we actually were going to deliver. We were lucky enough in that particular case, there were some very large customers and we could adapt the services. But of course, something like that is very expensive and time intensive. So it took, I think, about 3 years to level that all out.
So Bain and Company, a prestigious consulting firm, they did an analysis and they interviewed about 400, or maybe it was even more than that, B2B companies, and they found only 21% of them identify customer insights and act on them. And so if you think of it, and we'll use their number for a second, that's 1 in 5. When you go down in size, hardly anyone is talking about the customer. They're talking about their technology I'll ask startups in technology. I try not to work with too many of them, but I'll ask them, okay, who's your customer segment? I don't know. Okay. So you think this is like a loaf of sliced bread, right? So I don't want to miss any sales. Okay. So that's the first thing, that it's like time to get on your track shoes and run. The second thing I'll say is, okay, why should someone buy your solution over A, doing nothing, or B, buying a competitive solution? And immediately they jump into the technology and the features. And after 20 minutes, I have a headache that I need 3 Excedrin to it's like, so what again, these are features. What impact does it have on your customers? Why should they get it? Is it faster? Is it more ROI? And they just don't think like that. And so many of these people, they say, can you help me? And it's like, not until you talk to 10 prospects yourself and get an idea of how your product is perceived. So I just see this customer ignoring stage is frightening. And then it's like a lot of people, they'll just pull out these recent marketing books. Okay, that's great. Have you read Kotler? That talks about the marketing is there. It's a system where you identify your customer segment, you deliver a product or service, and you make profit. But what's first? The customer. And it's like, if if I had something on my tombstone, it would be, it's not the economy, it's the customer. And those who do not pay attention to it, guess, and many of them live and die by the sword. And I really think that is the cause why there's so many and we need to scale now, and it's so many up and down, and then there's a lot of churn in this B2B. But I might be going a different way than you want.
No, I mean, I think that's I think honestly, when I look at tech, so I've spent 30 years in tech, we are incredibly spoiled because everybody needs technology. The thing that I always have been talking about over my whole career is why do we need the technology? What problem are we actually solving? Is that actually helping? And then the other thing was we'd say, well, you have to understand us. And I'd be sat there going, no, they don't.
No, they don't. They don't want to.
We have to understand them and have to understand their struggles. Not you have to learn our stuff and our way of doing things. That's not the way this works.
I've got a friend of mine that works for a big accounting consulting firm. And so the scenario is this: a sales rep will go out and he'll talk to a customer and he'll say, well, if only someone could make X. The rep comes back to marketing, we need to make X. And they don't do any more research. It could be a one-off or whatever. And then the sales reps in tech, what I find is fascinating is the move to get you to do a demo. Like they actually believe a demo causes a sale.
Oh, yeah.
No. And I get calls all the time. Can I spend 30 minutes with you? If I did all the calls that they wanted, I'd be nothing but being on potential vendor calls. And it's like, I didn't ask for this. And it's like a demo is part of the journey, is part of the process. It's not, if I get the demo, I get them to buy. And so they do the demo and then it's close. And and that's another thing in this B2B industry. And everything is close. Build a funnel, make the calls, do all that. It's not build a relationship, determine your pain and problems. Let's see if we can solve this better. And if we can, let's prove to you we're credible.
Yeah.
That we've worked with other firms so that you're not taking so much risk. But between the metrics, between either the founder or the VP of marketing and VP of sales and marketing, push, make the calls, get the funnel. And it's like the customer is just totally lost on all this. It's just, and they don't care. And most times, Gavin, they come in, it's like, it's a Me Too product. It does nothing better, so why should I change my existing vendor? Why?
I think, so for example, just recently, I test all these AI products that are out there. So the first thing I do is, because I'm from sort of the enterprise space, is I'll look, are they compliant? Are they secure? Are they safe? Do they stand up to any sort of risk or compliance? Because without that, you just don't need to talk to an enterprise. Now, you'd be gobsmacked how many don't have those basics and then are trying to sell to enterprise clients. But you know as well as I do, any enterprise client, they won't be able to even consider a technology without those prerequisites. It's like having on a three-legged stool, you're missing a leg. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
From your perspective, is that what you've seen?
I see a lot of, I see a lot of faith in technology. I see arrogance that we know what our customers want. I see they don't do product testing. They don't do beta testing. I had a conversation with someone. He was having a new product. And I said, he goes, what's the first thing we should do? And I said, honestly, the first thing you should do is talk to a few prospects. Then we should have a focus group and talk about what pain do they have? What needs do they have? How does your product fit in that mindset? And then when you're done with that, you're not done. You take some of your favorite customers and let them beta test that thing. I had a construction product, and it's like, your job is to bang the hell out of these things and make sure it works or doesn't work. So we know before we sell to everyone, and it's like, and some of them did a great job. So it's just, I going back to what you said, I think it's a paradigm or a mindset on how you approach this. And people just jump to tactics. They jump to, it's got to be SEO. It's got to be brand positioning or social media. And to me, this is tactics, new products. Okay. Okay, fine. But you start with the customer, you segment your customer, and all this. I mean, you develop.
This because I was literally in tech. So I could see it wasn't the tech because that I understood. So I've worked in one sector, which is IT, but in 13 different fields. So I was looking at all of this going, it's not all of that. So it must be something else. So I first went to marketing, then I went to sales, and I talked to everybody and asked loads of questions until I realized it's the human beings. We should be talking to our clients and customers.
Who would have thunk?
I
like the word thunk. That talking to customers and getting insights is important. So first of all, and if I'm going way out of the way, just rein me back in.
No.
So first of all, there's a whole segment that doesn't believe they have to. We know what our customers want. Really? Okay. Then there's ones that say, I love this. We'll just have the reps ask a few questions. Well, first of all, they're trained to sell. They're trained to be killers, right, so to speak.
Yeah.
They're very defensive if anything comes up on the company or the brand or whatever. They're not the right. So by that definition, when I'm at the dentist should check my heart to make sure I'm okay, because he's in front of me. I mean, and I've never. So then the second issue is data. We are drowning in data, but we are thirsting for insights. And so you can look at the data and the data cuts and do all that. But the question is the context, the why. What would get them to change behavior? Why did they change behavior in the past? You don't get that from data. And I look at these online surveys and they have their place, but not to generate insights. It's more, they should be a confirmation vehicle that what you said is okay, believe by a lot. And it's like, and I'll just have these arguments. And then, so that's part of it. And now we're going into AI, which I don't want to insult your bubble, but it's like, okay, now we're going to use
as much as you wish.
No. But it's there's a great place for AI, but I see AI is going to replace copywriters. I see AI is going to replace market research. I saw one thing, AI is going to replace CEOs. It's really, how well does AI do with people? But it's like, so we are doing a poor job in marketing now. And maybe accelerated by the SaaS companies and B2B. Now we're going to adopt AI. So we're going to do more crap quicker, right? And
I was thinking.
Yeah. And so and all these people are pitching AI, copywriting and all that. And maybe one day it'll get there.
Yeah.
But I said, if you want to prove to me that it's good in copywriting, have a contest sponsored by a university. Have 3 AI groups and 3 professional copywriters. They all pick a case. They design their copywriting and have someone from a journalism school or marketing school, like the Olympics, place them gold, silver, bronze. And it's just I think it can do a lot of things. it's just not here. And the stuff that I've seen on white papers, my God, Gavin, a high school kid could write it. There's no tone, there's no emotion in it, there's no critical thinking. It's just here's a summary. And it's like it's literally, to me, and just my opinion, and people jump all over me, that's fine. It's like reading the ingredients on a tube of toothpaste.
So I think this is the mistake that IT has always made. So for example, just take a simple product like buying a laptop. All of the things that get listed in all of the ads are all about CPU, storage,
RAM, yeah.
whatever. Show me a normal person that knows even remotely what any of that means.
You go to Best Buy,
Yeah,
they don't even know. The salespeople at Best Buy, it's like they'll say, "Well, this has 16 RAM or something." Well, okay, well, what good does that do me? It's like, and then it's like, what's the difference? Finally, I'll go, okay, from what you know, what model should I pick? And I tell them what I'm doing, and mostly Microsoft Office. And so I won't get a bad pick, but I may not get the best pick. Yeah. And it's just training. I don't see these people walking in their customer shoes. Walk into Best Buy as a customer. Okay. Yeah. First of all, where is the computer section? Okay. All right. Now I found the computer section, and they just, they have like rows of these. It's like, okay, where do I start? And I'll just start from left clockwise, go around. It's like, so then I'll pick like the 2 or 3 that look pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I'll pick someone that I think is smart in this, which I don't always get, but which one of these 2 or 3 do you like? And is there a better decision? Is a better decision, a better price point? But it just all goes back to technology is a tool. It's not a master. Your master should be your customer, and the customer's not always right, but I guarantee you they think they're right. and
I think this is one of the things that we also make a mistake with. Obviously not yourself, but we're very often, certainly in tech, we have the sort of attitude of like, this would all be easier without the customers, or the customer doesn't know best. And I'd be sat there saying, in a meeting with senior people saying, yes, but that's why they've hired us, because we're meant to help them understand that. So for example, one of my first positions I ever had in tech, we had all of these different things. It was an enterprise. We had models up the wazoo. And I said, we're getting rid of all of that. We're getting one for marketing, one for professional services, and one for the admin team. And because we had senior leadership, they got a special model. That was it. So we stopped telling them all the features, facts, and hardware and all the rest, and just said, okay, do you need sales? Do you need admin? Do you need professional services or a techie laptop, or do you need a senior leadership one? That was it. And the noise stopped. Everybody stopped complaining. Everybody stopped saying, well, theirs is better than mine, because I just didn't tell them that.
I had a comment on LinkedIn last week that almost made me vomit. and don't look at us during breakfast, people. But so we were talking about customer obsession, and there's a bunch of us, and I would throw you in that pile too. It's important to talk to customer. And he goes, customers are a necessary evil.
Oh my God.
And I wrote back to him. I'm not going to call him out. I said, do you honestly believe this, or are you just kind of jerking my chain? He says, no, I honestly believe it. And all I said was, wow, just wow. So he is so deep into the tech that he thinks like customers are an obstacle, right? Or a hurdle to go.
Honestly, that is not just him. That is a lot of tech people. They honestly, truly see it that way. They don't say it very often, but that happens. That
Well,
is honest, because we've been so long that and everybody needs tech, that we think that we've distanced ourselves, because they're very logical people. So for them, the world is black and white. It works or it doesn't.
It's ones or zeros, right?
Yeah. But obviously, there's a spectrum. And if you had tech, it's here, right? Everywhere, everything's black and white and it's yes or no. And for them, it really is. No question. There are experts in their field. And they've made a lot of money doing that. But here's everybody else, us plebs on the normal side of life, going, I don't understand that. Now, my perspective, because I'm a third generation business owner, my father would literally chop my ears off if I ever mentioned what you just said, was that you're there to help that person to understand what they need to make a good decision for them. That's the way I've always seen it. But that's not the way tech thinks, I don't think. I think that comment is pretty pervasive.
Well, my stomach churned for like 2 days after that. I was like eating Malik's tablets, and so I mean, I think part of it is culture and paradigm, but part of it is how do we break it?
Yes.
You know, I mean, send some texts out to go talk to a few customers. I see new CMOs being hired, and they're just telling me they're very busy. They're busy doing tactics. They're busy doing SEO. They're busy doing CRM. They're busy doing, and it's like, well, when do you talk to customers? We don't. And it's like, so basically they have become activity driven. And I've coined a term, busyness, BUSYNESS, in business is not the same as effectiveness. And so we're just on this giant hamster wheel doing the same thing. And it's just, I don't know how it gets better. It needs a giant shock to the system. And I don't know where that comes from.
Maybe, so I know this might sound a bit weird, especially since you don't like AI. But
I didn't say I don't like it. It's not quite there yet.
I have a slightly different opinion, but I believe that experts using AI can certainly make it effective. But the thing is it's driven by an expert, which means they know what they're looking at and they know what good looks like. So they know what output they're after. But aside from that, I'm hoping that the AI, with those data insights, that they'll realize that that thing is going to say to them, you're wrong. But at the moment, it's not possible, because the thing that you and I know you bang the drum about it quite a lot, it's got to be insight driven. It can't see somebody's face, it can't see the body language, it can't hear the tone of voice. Well, separately, there are products that do those things, but not all together, for a start.
Well,
and not very good. And anyway, it's still not a human being. It is an alien intelligence.
Well, right. So would you sit still for a 20-minute AI interview? So the thing that keeps rattling in my loose brain here is I think I can see it getting facts, but where you start getting insights, what can we do for you? What didn't you like about the product? What do you want in a next gen product? How have we been to do business with over the last 18 months? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? So my concern is, and I've been interviewing a long time clients and customers. We know when to probe, keep going for the next, so to speak, the layer of the onion. Keep going. We also know when to use tricks like silence. That you don't say anything, and the customer feels uncomfortable, and then they start to go in. So maybe you can learn some of these things. Maybe you can. All I'm saying is this: AI is a tool. It's not quite a deity.
It is
even a deity, like godlike. Like some people will say, all you need is, and if you go on LinkedIn, several times a week, you'll get posts from, we do nothing but AI research. And it's like, maybe interesting, maybe not. So again, we could have a slight disagreement on this, which is fine. In the end, we'll know one way or another whether it can do it.
I don't think it can. Oh, that's the why my concern is that I think we will be getting to the point where you're right. We will be going faster, but faster just means you're going to hit the wall harder, I think. Because if people see that as the sort of the ultimate solution to anything that you're going to do, it's almost like adding IT, which is bad enough, giving them another reason why, a confirmation bias, if I'd call it that, because everybody thinks it's the silver bullet. And I'm just wondering, so maybe stop here, and if you were running through that process, just so everybody knows what it should look like, could you give us an outline of what that should look like? Maybe that's the best way.
Yeah. Well, let me first give a quick story, then I'll try to make an abbreviated statement.
Okay.
The important thing is to put this customer obsession, customers first, and drive it into the DNA of the culture.
Right.
When IBM lost its way in the 80s, buy Big Blue, buy all our products or buy nothing, they didn't buy anything. And Gerstner came in and he visited his top 20 customers as the CEO.
Yeah.
And he asked them 3 questions. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Where do we need to improve? And he got that information back and got all his senior management team to kind of get on that. Mm-hmm. So here's my process. So first thing is, we believe in the 80-20 rule. 20% of your customers have 80% of your volume.
Yes.
So you look at those customers, you look at the stakeholders in those customers, and you have discussions with them. Our discussions are like a half hour on the phone, very in depth, and we talk to them, strengths, weaknesses, all sorts of questions. We come back, we compile it, we look for what are the root causes, what are things under the client's control, and so we'll go back to the client and say, here's the 5 things that are most aggravating. You need to come up with initiatives to address the 5 root causes here. Mm-hmm. And then we have them go back to the customer to close the loop. And we said, here's what we heard. What are we missing? Here's what we're going to do. And we're going to meet every quarter to make sure we're moving this process ahead. Mm-hmm. So, and I hear people talking about all you need is 8 interviews, 4 interviews. It's just, so generally we'll do 20 to 30 interviews. We'll get the information. We provide transcripts, and we may train their team so that we're kind of train the trainers. Yeah. We'll go out with marketing. Mm-hmm. And in a few cases, we've actually gone out with the CEO, which is interesting because they're in front of the first one you do and they listen, the second one they do and you listen. But you see their eyes light up as going, my God, we're that bad, or we need to do this. And it's like, and so getting unfiltered data to the CEO is important. And driving the importance of this customer insight into the organization is critical. They need to become a learning organization. In Six Sigma, you're constantly, you measure, you do something else, you measure again. Why aren't we doing that with marketing? Why aren't we doing that with the large accounts? It's so I gave you the short story. I left out things like we do transcripts. We talk to the salespeople. We don't give the transcripts to the salespeople because we've had a few cases of the salespeople going out to the customer didn't like salesperson. And it's like, you dirty SOB. This is what you said. And it's like, That's not how you create customer satisfaction. You don't yell at your customer. So there's some things that we've learned. So I kind of take a step in the back as a service provider, we marketers have to provide due diligence to the customer. If you need surveys, get surveys. If you need ethnography, do some ethnography. If you need good insights, you have to either talk in person or on the phone and some type of qualitative. But we're all seem to be pushing our own service, so if I'm a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That's a phrase in the United States.
Yeah, it is over too.
So all I'm saying is I think we just need to get off this out of control freight train, take a couple steps back. What do we need to do to be effective and get the C-level to sign off on, the investor to sign off on, or the boards of directors? Because unless someone's pushing or there's a problem, they likely don't want to do this, and then you get all sorts of reasons why. It's too long. The competition can copy. It's too costly. And it's like, it's too costly if you have the wrong product and you're pushing it for a year and you have no sales, so I'm sorry, I get very geared up.
I understand. So, I mean, there's a curious thing that I've seen with them over the years with tech startups, for example. And, they get VC backs. So they've got bucket loads of money and there's a tiny percentage that actually succeed. And I've always wondered, because I've worked for one or two of them and had people that have worked in some of those things. And I was always asking, so have you actually talked to any of your customers? And I would get blank stares. And then I thought, well, that's the reason why you're only turning over 2%, because you haven't even found, before you throw all that money at the wall, if that your supposed customer segment exists.
What we found in VC is exactly right what you said, because we've done what we call marketing due diligence studies. There are a few smart ones. I'm not saying they're not smart, but
I'm not whitewashing everybody.
but there's a few smart ones that'll say, okay, we're buying this company. We want to understand, we're doing the work on the head count, the logo, the system integration, all that stuff. But we don't know what the customer's perceptions are going to be.
Yeah.
So we want you to interview their top customers, and everything's quick. It's got to be in 2 weeks. We got to make the offer in 2 weeks. And so what we do is we talk to the large customers, and then we try to get a feeling whether they're going to stay or not once they get bought. But very few people do that. And so they'll invest a ton with these consulting firms and a ton with the headcount people and the IT system and how do we make our ERP systems work together and all that wonderful stuff. But it's like, what's the impact in the market? And you do just wonder if more people did it, there would be less failure. Now obviously there's things like, do the management structures integrate well, or is there culture differences? And we'll never get at that. But I just see this reluctance at any level to do this customer insight research. There was in the United States about 20 years ago, there was something called the Malcolm Baldrige Award, and very prestigious, and companies had to apply for it. And then they would win, and they would promote. Some would win, and they would promote on their annual report, we just won the Malcolm Baldrige Award. Like, okay. But 30 points out of that 100 was talking to customers and getting insights. Now, they didn't say, what did you hear? They just said, did you talk to customers and how many? And then you get a check and you get your 30 points.
Yeah.
I think we need something like that again, but I can't figure out who applies shock to the system, because they're obviously not listening to marketing professors.
No, but I think so. For example, I talked to at least in the tech sector, I can't speak for anybody else, Because I talk to a lot of them, and obviously over the years I've talked to a lot of people in sales and marketing in tech as well. Less and less and less clients want to even talk to sales until they've made a buying decision, which is terrible. That's a demonstration that things are not going well. Oddly enough, even in the tech sector, everybody that I know that is tech-based, they are saying pretty much the same thing as you. It's about the people. It's about listening. It's about a solution, not necessarily your solution, just a solution, and saying to them, yes, we can help you. Here's how, because we've listened to you. Instead of just rocking up, laying a load of slides in their face and expecting that is going to help them in any manner, shape, or form.
So that's the slides, and then when do you want a demo, right? And then when do you want to buy it?
A meeting, yes.
It's just, to me, the whole thing is insane. I've got friends of mine working in this industry, and they yeah, you're right. We push for a demo. Why? How many resources do you waste on demo to people that don't fit or don't want to buy it? And it's like it's like a game I get for my grandkids, like spinning tops. As long as it spins aimlessly around the shoebox, but it's not focused. It's not prioritizing on the key things. And I go back as I can, that could be another story, but so it's just, I think we need a reset button, a reboot button to get us back on track in marketing. And, from a personal satisfaction, I love it when I take a skeptic, because I had someone I worked with several months back. It's like, okay, my new job's marketing. Now, what do I do? And I said, well, first, you're going to talk to some customers, but I'm going to give you 8 open-ended questions to ask them.
Yeah.
And they went out and they talked to like 9 or 10 customers. They said, I have learned more in these discussions than I have in 10 years selling with the company and working with the technology side. And it's like, so I know the system works, but it only works if you use it. And now I'm kind of at the point where if you do nothing else, do 10 interviews, see if the insights are worth it. You might want to do another 10, but it's like a go, no go at 10. Okay. And that way they're not like, oh, we're not in this for 40 or 50 interviews or whatever. And it's just, I don't know. I sometimes lose sleep on how off target we are going in B2B. It's
honestly, I don't think I've seen it in a good direction. Well, no, it was 20 years ago. It was different.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. 18 to 20 years ago.
20 years ago, it was definitely different because I remember it being different. And we've seemed to have lulled ourselves in with, I suppose it's the new generation coming up that they've lived with technology their whole lives. So they believe in the technology because of that incessant thing that they've basically had one of these bricks and seen it in their parents' hands their whole lives and think that the source of knowledge and truth at the back of their heads is somehow stuck in one of these.
It's like the Wizard of Ed.
Yeah, but the joke is what, and this is the thing that I'll be often talking about when I'm discussing with customers how they should actually fix from the other side. So when they've already got enterprise customers and they are very unhappy, is to say, right, for a start off, where do you think the knowledge from this comes from? It's not from a bunch of machines. It's a bunch of people. Yes, it's a way to actually connect with them, but this is just a device. It's not the solution.
So, I think we're on the same page pretty much. The one thing I'm going to add to this is, we've been talking about technology, and we do a lot in business to business, both tech and non-tech. And it's still bad in the non-tech. And
Really?
yeah, and so I have friends of mine, and we were kind of, why is that? And I think we came to an answer, right or wrong. The VP of sales and marketing in industrial and B2B firms have come up through the sales side. They know that works. That's what got them promoted. You make the calls, you close. Okay. They have not been trained in marketing. They with the exception of a EMBA class, they don't know marketing. They don't understand it. What they also need is a mentor or a general marketer to say, okay, here's some basic principles. Now here's some activities. We're going to get some specialists to do the activities. The ad agencies now, do the creative, do the logo and all that, still without talking to customers, which is another thing. But it just, I keep looking at where does this thing either breaks for good. Like I think the CX industry is going to it's going down the drain because we measure everything. No behavior gets changed. And then you see the CEOs cutting programs, cutting people. And so it's like the marketing is in a state of chaos. It's in a state of malpractice. And this isn't everyone. There's some companies that get it, but by and large, the industry through ancestral practices is keeping the same bad practices moving on. And then when that person leaves that company, they move to another company and do the same thing. So it's a little frightening. I just wonder whether I'm going to be buried before this thing changes, or it's just a lot of stuff. So I know I sound pessimistic, but it's honestly what I see, what other people see that are service providers. It's just,
yeah. At the end of the day, I've come out of tech, so I can say that we can learn. It just takes somebody that they respect to be able to talk to them, because I think a lot of people, this is the odd thing that I found, especially in services where in the past they've done very well. And this is not just technology, it's also finance. They think because they've done well in the past that they're going to do well in the future. But they don't respect anybody that doesn't come from their roots, unfortunately.
mm-hmm.
And the odd thing is there's that sort of this sides of the fence, which I think maybe the way social works, etc., it isn't really helping, because we're not having those conversations and saying, okay, this is the way that you're doing it. Is that working? If it's not working, then are you open to at least trying something else? Now, the reason I got down the road that I have, and why I've talked to you and George and Adam, is because I've come from the exact opposite space. So I've been in on the technical and financial side and saw that it wasn't working, and we were losing opportunities, and not small ones. So we're talking about 6, 7, sometimes even 8-figure contracts, because we just weren't listening to the people that we were trying to make our offers to. So I'm hoping that all we can do is band together as a group and get the companies together and the people together to say, right, okay, for example, now I know you, I know George, I know Adam, that we literally start to build that up again. Because once AI gets into all of this, I think it'll just it'll exacerbate it so much that all of these AI companies, they're just going to hit the wall like a bug hitting a wall. Don't think any of that's going to do any good.
It's a little bit like building up Robin Hood and his merry men, right? So, and the other question I'm wrestling with, I don't have an answer. What is the critical mass needed to
That,
change the wave. I mean,
well, you don't
four
actually
is
need
better than one.
that I actually do know. So there's a tipping point. I think it was Malcolm Gladwell, but also if you look at the sort of DEI space that's grown up over the last 20 years, you only need between 3 and 5%.
So
That's it.
3 and 5% of.
It's about, in the UK, it's 5.5 million businesses. So it's not a small amount, but it also isn't impossible.
No, and if I thought it was, again, it's my passion. Everyone that I can convert, I just hate bad marketing, Gavin. I just hate it. It bothers me. And I see a lot of people making assumptions. So I know you're on that side, Gavin, Adam. I've had some conversations with, and there's a handful of others. And then I kind of go back. It's like, Alan, don't beat yourself up. You can only do what you can do.
Yes.
And so,
like you said, you converted one person recently.
Well, that's just one, but
yes, but the thing is that if you've converted one person in a sector that doesn't believe, they have friends, and they'll see that person succeeding. Now, that's something I think we just can't calculate. So I know, for example, when I'm always looking, so my side of the fence, I'm looking for referrals and renewals, and everybody thinks that's black magic, which it isn't. It's actually a system that you can build. But the thing is when you get that, we had one customer where we delighted them because totally obsessed about their satisfaction and what they were getting, why they were getting it. When it came through into customer service, I said, these guys are super connected. They're going to bring us a lot of money. And I said, we need to make sure they get what I call white glove delivery, which is literally every single call I was sat on, that everything, sales, marketing, the lot. And they delivered 20 referrals at a 6 and 7 figure sum that were all in the exact same sector. So we knew exactly how to handle them, onboard them, and what they liked. So it was really easy for the business within a matter of 3 months.
I mean,
that has an impact. That does have an impact.
It has an impact, and that's terrific. I think another, it just triggered a thought of mine, which is sometimes dangerous. But when I hear clients say we treat every customer the same,
oh, God. No,
and it's like, why aren't you giving your top customers more love? Have them report differently, do whatever it takes to make them happy. And so then I'll just keep hearing things like the golden rule. And I'll say, okay, that works great in society, but in business, he who has the gold rules. And it's not really the golden rule, because the golden rule is treat people as you want to be treated. It's the platinum rule. Treat them as they want to be treated. And it's just like, well, we can't do that. And it's like, so again, I go back, it's breaking paradigms. It's just, and then you talk to these large accounts, large accounts, and they may have like 30% wallet share with the client. And it's like, if they did certain things, they could probably get 50%. They're not going to get 100, but, and it's like, and that is the best way to, when you retain customers, you grow wallet share, you drive profitability.
Yeah.
Yes, you need to do new customer acquisition. Yeah. But everyone's organization is focused on the new customer acquisition. They're not focused on what can we do to retain our customers, make them what the industry calls raving fans, like you delighted. They love your product, like Apple. When people are lining up to the Apple store around the block for a new phone that's really not much better than the old phone, they have raving fan customers, and that's the model we should try to adopt. Not this we treat everyone equally and all this. So it's just it's a funny business. I mean, it's just really funny.
I think the something that I find really interesting is when you're talking about any business, there's always you've always got competition.
Right.
They're all at the real base of it. Every company is set up the same. The service or product that you offer, there's probably going to be millions out there. So the only differentiator, in my personal opinion, that I've seen over my lifetime is how it's delivered. Now, as a human being, that makes a difference. And that does not cost that much money very often, for example. So if I get delivered just as a really, like you were saying, Apple, I ordered something from them. It came in a beautiful box that was perfectly designed. You could take it to pieces. It was all recyclable, the whole thing. So that was something that could, these days the customers find important. And that is an experience. And then the onboarding, the transfer of data, all of that stuff, easy peasy.
Well, you can argue back and forth here, but at one point in time, Apple had disruptive products, right? I mean, they had the iPhone, which changed the phone industry.
They did, but not anymore.
But by and large, B2B and a lot of tech that I see, there's not a speck of difference. They do things differently. But it's what we call a Me Too product.
Yes.
And the only way to differentiate yourself, I think we're saying the same thing, on a commodity product is not on the product, it's on the service. It's how you treat the customer. If they buy your product and they call in and wait, like it happened to me, in 15 minutes to get a customer service person while elevator music is playing in the background, and then all you hear every 5 minutes is your call is important to us, please continue to hold. That's no, I'm serious. That is not treating.
No, I agree.
That is not treating. And so you have got to treat your customers, especially the big customers, pre-sale, transaction, and post-sale, and just help them. Help them achieve their objectives. And the other thing, be easy to do business with. None of the, I see stuff, Gavin, that's like, well, you got to have a little friction to make the sale. They're not going to go to your website if they can't find pricing. They're going to go to someone else. It's someone shake these people up and tell them it just doesn't work like that.
I suppose the thing is, there is a different. I don't think most people understand. There's a difference between price, cost, and value, and they don't get that if you focus solely on price and cost, you will end up at the bottom of a barrel, and so will your business. If you don't deliver enough value, it's got to be an X factor of what they pay as a price. They've got to be, so far above that they're off the charts. Right. Because if not, then they're just going to look like most purchasing departments do. They'll find 3 vendors and they'll go, what's
the lowest price? Because they're judged on, they get their bonuses based on how much they've saved the company.
Yeah.
So I mean, I totally, and it also goes back to identifying the right customer segment. In the United States, you've got Lexus and you've got a Chevrolet. Both are, you can argue, somewhat successful, but they have different target segments. And when you buy a Lexus, you get free coffee at the dealer. They wash your car. They bring the car back to your place. And it's like, you're overpaying for a car, but you think that, to go back to your words, it's value. There's value to you in doing it. And again, value, and I'm not trying to preach here, but value is determined by the customer. It's not determined by the supplier. Yes. And, because a lot of times the supplier will go, well, we offer this. And the customer will go, I know you do. We don't care. No, it's just, so if I had to say anything, find out how your product is used in that company, find out their pain points, and find out what it would take to switch suppliers. And maybe the answer is they're not going to switch because it's an SAP system and they've had it for 15 years. But you'd be surprised. A lot of this does happen, but again, it's not with the salespeople going, are you ready to buy yet? It's, and take the time to build a relationship. What are you looking to do? How are you measured? What are the pain points? What does the CEO want you to do before you start getting into, here's my product and here's all the features. Number 99, this. Number 200, this. It's like, I get a headache. And it's like, do they care? Well, we assume they care. All right, well, we're discussion closed.
I heard a friend of mine in Australia. He's a business owner, and he was selling luxury cars, at the time. And he went to this dealership, and they were doing okay, no problem. But he sat down and talked to some of the customers that came in. Yeah, and 99% they came in with the kids. And, they were then in the dealership. So they came in, the kid and the wife, to look what cars they were going to be buying, SUVs. And he then said to the dealership owner, put in a hamper with kids' toys and stuff that kids like and makeup. And it cost something like, I don't know, $300. So for one of these cars, it was, 0.001% or something ridiculous. And he sold out, literally.
Really?
By putting in hampers.
Well, and so
kids got into the car. The wife got into the car because she saw the makeup and stuff. So they were actually sat in the vehicle, which as well as I do. Once you've got something and you've got hold of it,
right.
Psychological trigger that they then thought, we can imagine ourselves and our family in this. It must have been that. It must have been. But you sold out.
There was a home builder I did work with a long time ago, and we were doing some work for Electric Power Research Institute and EPRI. And we were going to homes and seeing how people sat in homes. But I went to this one home, and I consider myself a pretty good marketer. I've been around the block, and they were making chocolate chip cookies. And I said, well, isn't that nice? Because you give some people to eat. They said, you're missing the point. It's the smell of the cookies associated with moving into a house. And I said, these people understand so much more than a lot of people I work with. And it's like, and why can't they do that in cars? Why can't you have a chocolate chip air freshener or something? I mean, so it's just, but again, it just goes back is, I'm not, I think I'm pretty good, but I wouldn't say I'm brilliant. I don't like to pat myself on the back, but when you go to the customer, you are less likely to be wrong and more likely to have success. And it's that easy. I mean, everyone's trying to make it difficult. And it's like.
Yes, but I think that becomes, you've got to remember over the last 20 odd years, we've had a massive push towards university degrees. None of those kids that came out of that university know a slice about business, nothing. They've been taught to go into large consulting companies and they know nothing about business. So what have we got? They are then trying to perpetuate or justify their massive salaries. But it doesn't mean that this is the thing, is smart people will always make things more complex, I think. Is what I've seen is they don't like sounding dumb or they don't like making things.
Oh, okay. People that think they're smart, because I was going to say, I've always heard smart people have the ability to make something complex more simplistic. They have
the ability, but they don't. That's not what I've practically seen. Is if they are smart people, they tend to make things more complex than they really are.
Oh yeah, and
They're very few. Yes, I agree. They are very few and far between. They can do that because they realize that is what actually sells, because that is what somebody. So, for example, if you're buying a separate product, the CEO still has to understand that in some manner, shape, or form. And I've literally been hired to explain that in simple English because I know all the technical bump and I know 99% of it, they just don't need to hear. They've got 2 or 3 things that they know are important for their business. And if they don't hear those sentences,
I was at a
I'm curious.
I'm sorry.
You've seen the opposite, or heard the opposite.
No, let me try to answer this. It's what I've read that, the ability to make something simple out of complex is a higher level thinking. But to your point, I was at a consulting firm and they had all these terms. I didn't understand it. I know the customers didn't understand it. We would write white papers, and we had a PR company come in that would also do copywriting at that time. And they said, we've read every white paper you guys have out. We don't understand it. And it's like, so we obviously got caught up in our own buzzwords and trying to be smart to the next guy in that down the hallway. So it's like you have to start with your target reading level and the type of people you're going. I mean, you'd write differently for an engineer than you would for a marketer, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah.
Or purchasing, purchasing, so it's just, we're like robots doing our thing. Nothing changes. And we just keep doing the same thing. So I'm glad to be part of your merry band of bandits here, but
yeah, I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think there are a group of companies that I've seen over my sort of business career. They understand business, and everybody else just does okay. And that's why you get this, not just the 80-20, you get that 94-7 rule, That's why all the business goes to those people. It's because those people do what we are talking about, and they do it to the to negation of everything else. And when they do it, they then understand that once they've got a customer, that those customers are the most important thing to them, because that's what builds a business. I've seen one tech company that I've seen, they've now been purchased by another few years back. They sold 95% of their products to their existing customer base, which obviously saved them a massive amount of money because they were already customers. So their whole focus was, yes, they were acquiring new customers, but they focused on in service or just in service, and that's where the people went to. So I think it's not all bad, but I think we are in the minority, but I don't think that will ever change, unfortunately. I think it's just all we can do is a little, like you said, is try and convert those that are willing to see. And
I've got a friend of mine who says, whenever I talk to you, I feel like that Greek myth Hercules pushing that giant boulder up a mountain. And I said, I've had that boulder roll over me hundreds of times now. But I kind of, you got to try. We need to develop a counter wave to the tsunami of marketing ignorance, and I don't know.
We'll just have to stick together, Al. When I see somebody that I think might need your services, I'll make sure that they get.
And I'll do the same. But it's just like it is refreshing to talk to you and others like George and Adam, because I kind of felt like I was for a long while alone, shouting in a forest, with no one there except deer that didn't really understood what the noise was, and it's like, so I know there's people that know how to do it, and I'm just going to keep, use your phrase, banging on that drum
Mm.
and doing what's right for the customer,
Mm.
having a fiduciary duty. I've had a couple people that were surprised. They needed a survey. I don't do these online surveys. Here, go to these people, because I thought it was the right thing to do. You take care of your customer, and you do the best thing you have. So I'd also like that term, marketing fiduciary, kind of to try to get entrenched, because we do have a duty. We have a duty to our clients to help them meet their objectives. And
I think all businesses do, because it's hard-earned money from, at least under normal circumstances, hard-earned money from hard-working people, and that's the way I look at it. Every person that's buying a service, no matter what the size, is somebody has worked very hard to earn that money. And my personal belief is that if that's the case, that those people are just like me, just like my family, just like my friends. They want to know that, yes, we are solving their problems, and we do take them seriously, and we know we are in service. So you're not alone there, Alan. Definitely not. And I
good. I feel slightly better.
Yeah, and Rich in the comments is pretty much mirroring the same thing. So that's what I'm doing with Ask a Leader, is getting people together to demonstrate to maybe the younger generation as well that this does work. It is the way businesses work, because guess what? We are still selling to people,
right,
not to machines.
Right.
And never will be, unless there becomes a machine economy and they become conscious.
Well, if you're a rep and just selling like a machine, then you're really not adding any value, right? I mean, they could just place the order via computer. So it's an interesting.
Yes, that will you and I know, as at a certain level, they are never going to buy a 7-figure service over a web interface. It's just not going to happen. Nobody is going to transfer that amount of money. I mean, I've seen, 6-figure services, yes, as preparation. Yeah, maybe. But it's never just going to be, right, okay, we're going to click.
Totally agree with you. I mean, there are B2B products like copy paper reorder, stationery supplies. It doesn't require, they're more like an impulse buy and a reorder and all that. But anytime you get an expensive system, a complicated system, a system that can impact your business and all sorts of enterprise divisions, you want to know the team working with you. You want to know the rep, the technical people. If there's a problem, you want to know the people are going to train them. So I totally agree with you on that. Totally agree with you.
Okay. And with that, since we've overrun a tad, we've got now.
I'm leaving you set the time, so it's if I ran it over, I apologize.
Oh, no. So I don't set the end time, but I do say to people it's usually an hour. But I don't want to assume, just me, that somebody will want to talk that long. But we have talked this long, so and I think we should wrap that one up. We'll obviously keep in touch. I am trying to connect. This is what Ask a Leader is doing, is finding those people and getting us together. And that for me is the other half of my business. I obviously have a day job, which is in AI, but the useful use of it, where it is actually getting human beings to talk to each other, because I think that's the important thing. It's of no use if you don't end up with it speaking to a human being, because at the end of the day, if you are talking about something that is of value to somebody, the last step is always going to be, have I actually spoken to somebody? And that is, from my perspective, if we're talking about renewals and referrals, that's the essential bit. Because if you haven't, there's no emotional connection to you just saying, yeah, cancel them, don't know who they are.
Well, and you should be talking to them not a lot, not just before the renewal stage, right? I mean, and there's a lot of, it's like, okay. And then it's like they churn. It's like, oh God, why did they churn? We need to call them. And it's like, you've lost it. You've lost your way. But I've enjoyed talking to you, Gavin. I appreciate it. And it was a great conversation. I have to get off my soapbox when we're done.
I was expecting the soapbox, and that's exactly what I was after. So really appreciate it.
I am what I am.
Even though you're not a fan of Elon Musk.
I think he's a brilliant visionary. I think he has a bunch of psychological problems.
Oh yes. He's building
his ego, and I just it's too bad we can't separate the true imagination part with a team of managers that follow him around and run companies, rather than him buying a company and destroying half its value. But that's another conversation. You can bleep that out if you want.
I don't cut anything out. I would prefer an honest opinion than anything else. And aside from that, we're both adults. I respect somebody else's opinion. So that is fine by me. Right. Okay. Then thank you very much. Your Friday morning, everybody else, Friday evening. This is Ask a Leader. That was with Alan Hale. I think, Alan, just if you'd like to mention, just so it's right at the end of it, because people might skip to the end, is how would they contact you and what's the best way? What channels? Where can we find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on my website, www.consultingmarketinggroup.com, CONSULTING group.com. And you can send me a message. I also want to say the meter doesn't always start right away. I'll be glad to talk to you and see if we can add any value.
Totally agree. See if you can add value first, have a conversation, then find out if it's worth it. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you.
I hope that Chicago weather is treating you well.
It's 90 degrees. I feel like a broiled chicken half the time.
That's why I was asking the last time.
I'm not built for this weather. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not built. So I will escape. You know what? I will just shut my computer.
One second.
Thank you.